Enter real quick.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you everyone for tuning in for today's CAIR on Air. Today we're going to have community updates, so that's why we have representatives from CAIR New York and CAIR Pittsburgh. From CAIR Pittsburgh, we have Sister Christine Mohammed. She's the executive director from there. Assalamu alaikum, Christine.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you for having us.
And from CAIR New York, we have Ahmed Mohammed. He's the litigation director. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you guys for joining to give updates so there's incidents in both of these areas, and we have them on so they can tell us a little bit more about about what's going on. So because Ahmed, I know you guys are getting prepared for a town hall you're going to have tonight, so I know you're really busy with that. So I'm going to start with you first, if you can tell us about the situation, and then we can get into the town hall a little bit so you can tell us more about that so everyone can tune in. But starting with the hate crime incident, involving NYPD, can you tell us a little more about that? Like what happened, some of the details?
Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you to CAIR National for finding it important to have us on the show to talk about this. About a week ago, I actually got a comment saying, now Trump has been voted out of office. Work for you all is going to decrease significantly, right? And I told this individual that, discrimination existed before Trump. It's going to exist well after Trump. And this incident here is just another example of it. Friday night, November 6th, around 11 p.m., you had this beautiful family, Khalid Ali and his wife and two kids. They were going home after visiting a friend here in Astoria, Queens. They pulled up into their parking lot. They were in separate cars. Mr. Ali's wife, Mrs. Taha, parked at their reserve parking spot that they pay for. And she got the kids out of the car. She's putting, a jacket on her youngest kid, who's 6 years old. The other one's 8. Mr. Ali is getting something out of the trunk, right? You had this couple, male, female. They drive up and they say some words towards Ms. Taha, and then they go to park their car, and then they aggressively approach her. And she knows there's going to be trouble, right? She can feel it in her gut. This couple had been harassing her for the past month and a half. And she immediately just told her kids, age 6 and 8, she was like, get back in the car and lock the door. And, the male and female suspect thought that she was alone. Ms. Taha is a young woman. She wears hijab. She's very easily identifiable as being Muslim. The two suspects thought she was alone. And as soon as they approached her, she started yelling for her husband, right? She was like, Khalid, come, right? Like, come help me. And he did. Right. And as soon as he got there, the two suspects they grabbed Taha by her hijab, were yelling at her, telling her that she was an effing Muslim. And they were about to hurt her. And, Khalid is a loving husband, a great family man. He, was like, leave my wife alone, leave her alone. Don't touch her. Please get your hands off of her. And as soon as he, intercepted in that way, the male suspect, attacked him. He had a metal object in his hand that he used to attack him with. The female suspect pushed him. He, lost consciousness almost immediately. And while he was on the ground, these two suspects, kicked him, punched him numerous times. He suffered a lot of injuries. His two children were watching this incident happen from the car. They are extremely traumatized by this. And while they were beating him, the female suspect, repeatedly yelled that he was an effing Muslim as, she was just assaulting him left and right. Alhamdulillah, Mrs. Taha called the police, 911, and the suspects ran away in their car. And Mr. Ali, God was watching over him. He survived. If If he had been by himself in that moment, God forbid what could have happened. And that's kind of where we're at now, right? And so that happened Friday night, midnight. We know who did this. The identities have been, provided to law enforcement. We know where they live. Law enforcement knows where they live. Monday evening, this reaches CAIR New York. And, at that point in time, law enforcement still have not made any arrests. And the family had absolutely no idea what was going on, right? Also, Monday evening was when Mr. Ali was finally released from the hospital, right? He was hospitalized for a couple of days. He had surgery because he had a lot of broken bones on his face. His eye was closed shut as well. He lost a couple of teeth. And, Tuesday morning, we were able to meet with law enforcement officials. They did a number of interviews of Mrs. Taha and Mr. Ali, and they're investigating now. It's Thursday afternoon, and we are still waiting on the first arrest in this case, and it still has not happened. We're getting at the 1 week mark. Extremely violent crime and anti-Muslim crime, and we're still waiting. And the saddest part is, not only has this family been traumatized, but every single day they continue to be traumatized. They cannot even return back to live in their home because these suspects live in the same apartment complex. The suspects know where this couple lives. They're too afraid to return home, and they're staying at a family's home right now. The children are in public school. They haven't been to school since the incident. Their iPads are in the apartment, so they can't even do remote schooling right now. And it's a really horrible situation, right? And the first step to make sure that they're safe is for the suspects to be arrested and charged for appropriate crimes that they've committed.
Yeah, Ahmed, as you were describing that story, the what was on my mind was the kids, because you started off saying like they were in the car, and then when you described what was happening to the parents, my mind is on like, is this happening right in front of them? Like they saw that, and that was confirmed. I think that's so traumatizing that they saw that happen to their parents, that's almost like an expectation that they have now, like that this is what happens to people who look like them, who identify as their ethnicity, their religion. So my heart goes out to the children who witnessed that. But can you tell us a little bit about what like CAIR's involvement in this? What was CAIR's response, and why is it? I know that we always like to emphasize when situations like this happen. We want to emphasize it like a hate crime investigation. If it's a hate crime, we need to call it for what it is. So can you tell us a little bit about why that's important? Like for labeling it as that.
Right. So, look, I think the best role that CAIR New York and CAIR in general plays in these situations is it's a multifaceted role. Right off the bat, what we do is we investigate for ourselves because we want to make our own determination on whether we believe there's been some sort of biased motivation based off of, the victim statements and witnesses if possible, right? It's important to classify things because, number one, it tells us how the NYPD is responding to our community in these types of situations. And it allows, the authorities, CAIR New York and other organizations to properly resource themselves for the future for similar incidents, because we know that identity crimes not only have a damaging impact, long-term impact on the victims themselves, but the whole community as a whole. Right? Hate crimes are community-wide crimes, right? The whole entire community feels the impact of them, and they tend to cause, widespread fear and sometimes panic because, really what goes through people's minds that are, not the direct victims is, am I next? And to make sure that we continue to live our lives, being proud Muslims as we are, we need a strong advocacy front to say, should you engage in this type of, horrific and horrendous conduct, there's going to be serious investigations and serious punishment and repercussions for your misconduct. And right now, we see it over and over again, that is not what's happening, right? There is a lack of initial response from the appropriate authorities on situations like this. And we do see when CAIR New York is getting involved in these situations, as we saw here, there's a quick escalation to, oh, you know what, we weren't doing anything, and now we're playing catch up, right? We want to get to a point in the city and the state of New York where every crime is treated fairly and has a thorough investigation, whether there's a CAIR New York involved or not, right? And we're not getting there yet. We're going to continue to fight for that. I will say this one last thing about the children, and it's heartbreaking, as you say, Sister Ayan, is that I spoke to the family late last night, and the one thing they did tell me about the children is that ever since this incident, right, because they saw a lot of blood, coming out of their father as he was being kicked and coughing blood while he was unconscious, is that every day they're crying, every day they're asking questions about why this happened to them. And every night they're waking up screaming because of the nightmares they're having because of this incident. And I don't want to take away from the fact that, obviously there's someone who was hospitalized, Mr. Ali. And I got to say, Mrs. Taha has been extremely strong, extremely courageous in all this. But we cannot forget that this is going to have a huge impact on her and on her life as well, even though today, she is worried about her husband. She's worried about her kids, not even really thinking about herself. But I don't want, the rest of us to forget that there are a lot of victims involved in this incident.
Thank you, Ahmed, for sharing that. I think it's a very heavy situation, but obviously we need to discuss it and bring it to light. And just I know that, like, with the topic of hate crimes, y'all are having a town hall later today about that. So can you, before you have to jump off, can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So for the past few weeks, we have been working with the New York City Commission on Human Rights to create a Muslim communities town hall to kind of discuss anti-Muslim hate crimes and what type of tools are available to our community members. And we have a whole host of sponsors from the Arab American Association to CAIR New York to the Office on Prevention of Hate Crimes. And we've got a great panelist. I myself am going to be part of the town hall. The commissioner from the New York City Commission on Human Rights is going to be the opening speaker. We're going to have a bystander intervention training session. We're going to have someone from the Crime Victims Support Center who's going to provide resources related to mental health. We're going to have Sister from the Women in Islam, and she's going to be great. And so if you're out there right now and you're thinking, okay, where can I go to listen to this town hall? It's really easy. Go to the CAIR New York Facebook page. It's going to be live streamed on our Facebook page from 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Go ask your questions there. It's a 2-hour session. We got a lot of experts on the panel, and we want to answer your questions. We want to give you the tools to succeed, inshallah, and to make sure that you know what to do to protect your family and your community, inshallah.
Thank you, Ahmed. And I'm gonna put that in the comments just so everyone has that. But also, if you have a link that you want to send me that has that information compiled, you can send that to me, and I'll put that in there as well.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining, and good luck planning everything and taking care of that case.
Thank you.
Okay, so Sister Christine, I know that was a lot to have to process, but we also have to talk about the incident in Pittsburgh. Can you tell us a little bit about that situation?
Yeah, sure. So in a town outside of Pittsburgh in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, they had a community day celebration last month, and it was at the municipality building. And during that celebration, there was a band that was playing, and on the stage, visible for all those seeing it in the virtual realm, was a Confederate flag. And many people took pictures of the flag and they sent them to the NAACP, which the Mon Valley chapter, of course, I mean, is concerned about seeing this image since it symbolizes hate and oppression for many people. They got involved and we joined with them in our concern of, this display of the Confederate flag during a community celebration day in the municipality building.
Thank you for that explanation. So can you tell us a little bit about what did CAIR do? What was CAIR's response? I know that we joined with the NAACP, so can you tell us a little about what we were doing?
Well, basically what CAIR Pittsburgh wanted to do was show that we stand in solidarity with the NAACP and with our, African American brothers and sisters and the community at large that had to see that event. So we released a public statement, showing that we also cared about what was going on in that. And we wanted to express that there was not a place for this flag in a public event like this in a municipality building. And even though the president of the council stated that, he was unaware that the flag was actually there, and he spoke with the band and that the band was going to, from then on, have an American flag up, we were still concerned to the fact of, you should be aware of who's representing your community and the message and the values that sends to the youth and the family within your community that is a diverse community. So we just really wanted to stand with the NAACP and make our community aware that this is something that we support.
Yeah.
That it's important, that the anti-American value, I mean, we believe in freedom and equality for all. So we just wanted to make sure that we joined in that statement and let our community know that we stand up for these types of things. With the rise of white nationalism and the things going on currently in the political world, we just want our community to know that we stand up for these things. We have our brothers and sisters' backs.
Yeah, and my last question was, why is it important that we stand up for it? And you touched on it a little, but I do want to give you a chance to expand on that, like how you were saying the rise of white nationalism, and I just want to give you a moment to expand on why it's important that we stand against it.
I think it's important for everybody within the community, when you see something, to say something. We hear that a lot. And that goes with symbols, right? When people are putting things out there that, have a historical background of oppression and hate. And we're trying to heal our nation right now, to bring people together. And one way I think to do that is to build those bridges, not just for the Muslim community, but the African American community as well, and to come together. So that was very important for CAIR Pittsburgh to be a part of that, because we believe in building bridges, not walls.
Thank you. So I think that if you have any last thoughts, I think that concludes the questions I have for you. So if you have any final thoughts for the viewers.
No, I just want to thank CAIR National so much for having us a part of this program. And I wish, the chapter in New York the best of luck with what they're going through. And my heart goes out to that family. We are with you in thought and prayer.
Okay. Thank you, Christine, for joining, and Brother Ahmed from CAIR New York for joining and telling us about what they're dealing with right now. And thank you for the viewers for watching this and tuning in to get these community updates. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we have the CAIR on air around 3 o'clock, where we talk about the incidents CAIR is working on. And inshallah, we'll have more community updates in the future. So thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.